right, welcome once again to the Disability Law Show. John Scholes and Sivan Tumarkin ready to go. I hope you are as well. Coming up on the show today, we'll get to the three excuses that insurance companies are using to deny COVID-19 cases and disability claims. That is on the way, plus phone calls from our radio show. I got tons of stuff to get through, tons of stuff. If you want to reach out anytime, 1-855-821-5900 and disabilityrights.ca and help@disabilityrights.ca. And also covidrights.ca. Sivan, for a little while, is going to be a pretty active website. Lots of information there as well. So you can go there at your leisure. What's going on with you, pal?
Hey, John. It's been a very, very busy week, as you can imagine. Listen, the psychological toll that this pandemic is taking on the Canadian population is huge. Global had a news article out, I believe it was about a week ago or so, that said that 11 million Canadians are feeling the anxiety and the depression and are actually experiencing these severe symptoms because of the pandemic and everything that's resulted from that. And of course, this is a show about disability rights and, individuals who are grappling with their disabilities as it relates to their insurance companies who don't want to pay when they have to pay under certain disability policies. And we are here to empower individuals out there, despite the fact that the pandemic is still raging, despite the fact that there is no vaccine. We are here for you if you are having an issue with your long-term disability insurance company. And John, let me tell you about an interesting case that came across my email, I guess, this past week. And it has to do with an individual out of BC. Remember, we have offices both in Ontario and British Columbia. We work all throughout these provinces. And this individual contacted me. He's 42 years old. He's a father of 4. And, he has been on long-term disability now for almost 2 years. And the insurance company, the adjuster that he's been dealing with, who has been actually okay to deal with, he's been very helpful, for this individual who's disabled. Called him up, and this was last week, and he told him, look, you're approaching the 2-year mark, your benefits will now end. And he didn't give him any more information other than that. And this individual who contacted me wasn't aware of our show, but was told by someone else, another family member who does watch the show, to give me a call, to email me, and then to speak with me. And so he emailed me, and I spoke with him. And what's interesting to me, and this is something that I have seen quite a few times in the past, individuals are told by their adjusters that their benefits will end at the 2-year mark on LTD, who are on LTD. And what they're not aware of is that their policies don't expire at the 2-year mark. What the adjuster fails to tell them is that they will end their benefits, and that's not because the policy ends at that point. It's because in the adjuster's mind, or the insurance company's mind, the individual does not qualify for LTD beyond the 2-year mark. And so I had to explain to this individual, like I do in many instances, when I advise individuals calling me about this, and I told him, I said, look, if you continue to be disabled, not just from your own occupation, but from any occupation for which you are suited for by virtue of your training, education, or experience, if you can't do any other job, any other occupation, because of your disability, your benefits should continue beyond that 2-year mark. And he wasn't even aware of that. He simply assumed that his benefits end in 2 years. Like when you get unemployment insurance or any of those kinds of benefits, usually there's a certain timeline, right? You don't get this beyond a certain amount of weeks or months. And people have that same impression when it comes to long-term disability. Now, it's true that some LTD policies are time-limited. Some of them are for 2 years, 5 years. But the vast majority of LTD policies will take you to age 65 if, in fact, beyond that 2-year mark of being on LTD, you remain disabled from doing any occupation for which you're suited for. And we're going to get to later in the show, what does that mean for which you're suited for by training, education, or experience? But so the message is out there, the lesson for people, John, is that if you've been on long-term disability and you have been on it for about a year, year and a half, and there is a discussion going on with you and the adjuster about that 2-year mark, remember, unless you're 63 years old and your policy takes you to age 65, right? And you've had those benefits for 2 years and the policy simply ends at age 65, unless that's the case, if you continue to be disabled from any occupation, you should get LTD beyond the 2-year mark. And if you're not getting those, if you've been cut off or you're told that your benefits will end, you should give me a call or email me ASAP so that we can actually speak. I can review the documentation and tell you if you have a legal claim against the insurance company, if you should be getting more. But just imagine, John, with that individual here, he was actually getting about $3,000 per month in LTD. That's $36,000 a year. He's in his early 40s. Imagine if he gets LTD for the next 20 plus years. Imagine if he simply walked away from all that money. I mean, you're talking about close to $1 million potentially he would be, foregoing, and the insurance company would be keeping. So don't make that mistake. Many people get cut off at that 2-year mark. It doesn't mean that the insurance company is correct. You may be owed a lot more LTD benefits than the insurance company is telling you.
You can head to disabilityrights.ca anytime to catch a link to our long-running radio show. We play the phone calls from it on this show. First one for today, Sivan, is coming up right now.
My wife was diagnosed with cancer in November of 2017. She went through short-term disability, then went on long-term disability where the insurance company was paying her. That long-term disability ended on March the 26th, and she was deemed not fully disabled. So no more disability payments. Her employer just told her that they don't currently have a position to put her in right now because she can't go back to her regular job because of the physical limitations of it.
John, I see these kinds of situations. I hear individuals like these people like this gentleman call me all the time, and it infuriates me, especially when you're dealing with a spouse that is clearly sick, right? I mean, you can have different kinds of sicknesses. You can have, you can have cancer. You can have a neurological disorder, chronic pain. You can be in an accident. And what's worse than seeing your loved one suffer through that and then getting victimized by the insurance company that's supposed to be there for them, and for you as well as a family, and it feels like somebody's pulling the rug from underneath you, my advice to this gentleman here is that we start a legal claim immediately against the insurance company. If she's unable to go back to work, to her occupation, to any occupation, I mean, given what she's going through with cancer, I would not be surprised if the doctors are of the opinion that she's simply unable to go back to work. And even the employer is unable to accommodate. That's another issue altogether, the accommodation issue, right? I mean, there's an employment element here that, we deal with as well. If a person is able to go back to work, but with accommodation, modifications, and the employer does not provide that, there is a potential employment legal issue here that we have lawyers, my partner Lior and other lawyers at the firm that can help you with. But look at this situation here where this lady, this gentleman is calling for his wife. This lady has cancer and is unable to work, and here the insurance company says, nope, we think that you're not disabled enough, or you're not disabled under the policy. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, and it's actionable. This is the message here for individuals. You're not powerless to do something about this. And the one thing you should not do, I want to get into this right now, John, is you should not appeal that kind of a ridiculous decision, right? Whenever the insurance company cuts you off or tells you you're going to be cut off, they will also tell you that you can appeal that decision. Don't waste your time with these appeals. These appeals are useless. They're mostly detours. They will basically make you run around, get more documentation, only to deny you again and again and again. So don't do that. Give me a call. I would want to see the denial letter, and I would want to see the medical documentation that specifically deals with this lady's ability to go back to work or not. My gut sense, John, is that once I get involved and I start a legal claim against the insurance company, they'll back off immediately. And that's happened time and time again, that we get involved, sometimes just sending them a letter, not even a legal claim. And suddenly they say, oops, we made a mistake. They didn't make any mistake. They knew exactly what they were doing. Exactly. But they banked on these people, these poor people who are in a very precarious state, especially now with COVID, simply walking away, going into their shell, right? Meanwhile, the insurance company gets to keep all that money that is rightfully owed to this lady and her husband. So John, the message again is, give me a call, email me, let me help you. It costs nothing to speak to us about these issues. And just before I went on the show here, John, I was answering an email from a gentleman again, that had contacted me on behalf of his wife, a different gentleman altogether, because that's what we do. We give this information out. It doesn't cost anything to get this information, so don't hesitate to reach out.
Phone call's a good place to start as well, 1-855-821-5900. We'll take a short break. When we come back here, 3 excuses insurance companies are using to deny COVID-19 related disability claims. We'll get to that after a short break. As mentioned, Disability Law Show continues. Don't go anywhere.
You lost your job. They only gave you 2 weeks of severance per year worked. But where can you find out what you're really owed?
I'm going to severancepaycalculator.com.
Find out how much you're owed right now. severancepaycalculator.com.
You've been denied long-term disability. You think you're powerless, but you have a lot more power than you think. I'll tell you a secret. It's a numbers game for the insurance company. They're betting on you walking away from money that they owe you. Don't make that mistake. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You lost your job. They said they had a good reason, but you think you've been wrongfully dismissed. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
This is a Disability Law Show. Welcome back to it. Reaching out anytime, disabilityrights.ca. I want to get into this. Savannah, I know you're hot to get on this topic, and that is 3 excuses insurance companies are using to deny COVID-19 related disability claims. This couldn't be more timely than it is right now with what we're in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And John, you're saying 3 things. We're going to go through those, but remember, there are many, many excuses. Underline, highlight the word excuses. Insurance companies throw at you to tell you why it is you're not going to get paid. Don't listen to them, but let's go to those 3, John, and dissect them.
You bet. First one is this: you can't get LTD for psychologically related COVID-19 disabilities like anxiety, depression, PTSD, right?
Absolute nonsense. Just think about how insane that proposition is. For them to say that if you are disabled because of the psychological effects of COVID, and you have a psychiatrist or a psychologist, psychotherapist, whoever it is, your family doctor, and they are writing to the insurance company saying you are now unable to work because of the psychological effects of COVID, for the insurance company to say to you that that's not a disability or somehow that's excluded under the policy, you're not going to have any policy out there, any insurance policy that will have, I'm talking about the long-term disability policy, that will have an exclusion for COVID-related psychological disabilities. You're not going to see it anywhere because COVID just hit us. It literally just hit us in the last few months. So you're not going to have these policies out there. And frankly, I don't think you're going to see these in the future either. Now, here's the general rule. If you are disabled from working, whether it's because of a psychological reason, psychological illness or sickness or condition, or some kind of an injury, or a mixture of the two, okay? So it can be physical or psychological or both, and your doctors confirm that in writing, the insurance company should approve you for LTD. And if they don't approve you, there is a problem. And it's a problem that we deal with every single day and we fix. And how do we fix it? By taking the fight to the insurance company. I'm not telling you to take the fight to the insurance company. I know that you're disabled. I know that you can't. I know that you are trying to focus on getting better, especially if it's a psychological issue. What I'm telling you is that as soon as we get in the picture, you don't have to deal with the insurance company anymore. We deal with them. And we know the tricks, and we know the excuses, and we know exactly where the weaknesses are for these insurance companies because we deal with them every day. And frankly, many of the lawyers that are on my team, including myself, have worked for insurance companies in the past, so we know how they operate. So again, if the insurance company tells you that you don't qualify for short-term or long-term disability because of the psychological impact of COVID-19, don't believe them and reach out to us. It's an excuse that will not stand up under legal scrutiny.
Another excuse is this one, and this one, again, very timely, is the fact that, well, you're not going for regular treatments to get better, so we're going to cut you off. Yeah,
and that goes to the reasonableness of the expectations that the insurance company can have with respect to your compliance with treatments. I mean, look, everybody out there that I speak with, is taken aback by what's happened with COVID-19. Nobody is going about their ways in a normal fashion. Certainly doctors, physiotherapists, chiropractors, all manners of practitioners are now adjusting to this new reality. Some of them are providing services, via Zoom, via Skype, whatever other platforms you have. So they do provide these treatments and people take them up on that. But there are some services, like physiotherapy, for example, where I used to have physiotherapy for my shoulder, and you can't simply do that remotely, or at least most of what I was doing, right? Because it requires manipulation on my shoulder. And that's the truth for many people. They're having difficulty, going and getting the treatments that before COVID they were able to get regularly. And insurance companies, for the most part, they're actually okay. But in some instances, they actually use the excuse of you not getting those treatments now, irrespective of COVID, as an excuse to say you're not complying with your policy. Because under your policy, you're supposed to get those treatments. And of course, you go back and you say, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? My physiotherapist, my chiropractor, my acupuncturist, they're closed down or they're not working or whatever it is. I can't go. I'll tell you what you do. You confirm in writing via email to your adjuster that you have every intention to get those treatments. You're interested in getting those treatments. You've done your due diligence and you've tried to find treatment providers, or you've tried to contact your treatment provider. Put it in writing that you've done everything you could to comply with the policy. And if your insurance company still tells you they're going to cut you off for non-compliance, give me a call or email me, and I will tell you exactly what your options are. The one option that I would not recommend is that you simply walk away. Don't let the insurance company cut you off unfairly from your LTD benefits that you are owed because of a stupid excuse that they are giving you now, which is that you're not complying with treatments, which is just ridiculous given what we're going through.
There's many of those excuses, but we're focusing on three for the purposes of this show. The third one kind of relates to the second one. That is, they cut you off because they say you're not getting us medical updates that we're requesting, so out you go. Yeah,
and I see that, John. I've seen that obviously before COVID too, where insurance companies say, look, we want this update from your doctor, give it to us by so-and-so date, or we're going to stop your benefits. And they are entitled to updated reports and updated opinions from your doctors, because unless you have a kind of disability, a catastrophic type of an impairment where there is no question that you're disabled and you're going to remain disabled permanently, they are entitled to updates. But again, we are in COVID times. So it requires the insurance company to take a step back, be reasonable. They can't simply tell you that, look, if we are in the beginning of May now, or beginning of June or July, whatever, you have 1 week to get me this update. It's not reasonable. So if your adjuster says something like that, if your adjuster tells you that if you don't give them that update by a certain date, they're going to cut you off, and they've told you that's the cutoff date, give me a call immediately, email me immediately. I will work with you. I will tell you what you need to tell your adjuster, and I'm going to make sure that if the adjuster takes the step of cutting you off unfairly in the circumstance, that you're going to know exactly what can be done to force the insurance company to pay you what you're owed.
You want to reach out anytime, by the way, email is also good, help@disabilityrights.ca. We'll take a short break, and when we come back from that, we're going to discuss what to do if your insurer is forcing you back to work, or at least trying to. That's coming up on the Disability Law Show. Don't go anywhere.
You were being harassed, and when you said something about it, you're the one who lost your job. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Insurance companies deny long-term disability claims all the time. They give lots of excuses. Don't give up. I've seen it all. They've ignored your doctors, they've ignored you. You're angry and you're frustrated. But there's hope. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You thought you had a secure job. You didn't see it coming. Now what do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
And welcome back to a Disability Law Show. DisabilityRights.ca is a place you want to go for lots of information on what we talk about every week. It'll also give you details on how you can find our long-running radio show, from which we pull these phone calls. Number 2 for the show is coming up right now.
My son has been on long-term disability for chronic pain disorder for the past 2 years. Recently, his adjuster told him that he has to go back to work and is forcing him to do it. His benefits will stop at the end of August. My son is not able to work, and his neurologist and family doctor agree. what can we do?
The old 2 years, eh?
Yeah, that 2-year mark, right? Remember, we talked about that at the beginning. Insurance companies often try to cut people off at that 2-year mark of being on LTD because that's when there is a change of definition for the term totally disabled, right? The insurance company has to pay you so long as you are totally disabled from doing your own occupation for the first 2 years and any occupation beyond the 2-year mark, okay? So in this case, this lady who's calling for her son is doing the right thing. She's seeking advice because it's completely unfair, obviously, for the insurance company to be forcing her son, that's the word she's using, forcing, to go back to work. Now remember, people use the word forcing, and really what they mean is pressuring, because the adjuster can't come to your home and put a gun to your head and force you to get out of the door in the car and on to work. But what the insurance company is doing here, they're applying pressure, and there's different ways that they know how to apply pressure. I've seen this in many, many different circumstances. Here's the way to resist that pressure. You know, if the neurologist here and the family doctor disagree and say that this person, this gentleman here, her son, is unable to go to work, they need to provide a letter, each one of them, that expressly explains why it is, from their medical perspectives, her son is simply unable to go to work, to any kind of work for which he's suited for. And they have to explain it in a functional way. They have to explain why it is that his type of disability, that chronic pain, is preventing him from doing various aspects of his job. And I'll tell you this, John, the insurance company cannot force him to go back to work. What they can do, and which they've done here, is say at this particular point in time, let's say the end of August, as his mother has said on the call, his benefits will be cut off. Well, guess what? If they do that and maintain that position, despite the doctor saying that her son cannot go back to any kind of work, they have now placed themselves in the eye of the storm. Her son has a legal right to challenge that, to challenge the insurance company. And I suspect, again, this is one of those cases where the insurance company, when they get a letter or a claim from me or my office, will fold. They will fold like a house of cards because they are betting that he will simply walk away, that the mother will walk away, that family members will walk away from money that is owed to these disabled individuals. So, you know, don't take that. Don't take. Now, the one thing that she did really, really well here is she contacted me immediately. She called immediately when this happened, right? She didn't wait until August to see, oh, is the insurance company going to cut off my son? She didn't do that. She has a head start now. Her son has a head start. That means, John, that we can get involved now, right? We are still in May, and we could potentially resolve the claim before the payments stop, which means there's no absence of payments. And that's the worst case scenario, where people call me, well, not the worst case, one of the worst case scenarios, people call me a year, 2 years after they've been cut off benefits because they've tried to appeal, or they thought they had no case, or they went to lawyers who didn't know what they were doing and didn't give them good advice. And here, this lady did the right thing. She contacts me for her son. Literally, when this happens, he's still getting paid. We can deal with the insurance company. We can deal with them now. And there's a very strong likelihood that I can resolve this case for her son now, before the insurance company even cuts him off. But all you have to do, if you're seeing us now, maybe this doesn't apply to you, maybe it applies to your loved one or to a friend or a colleague. All you have to do is tell them, tell them to contact us, or contact us on their behalf with their permission. We will be more than happy to provide the information that they need to make a decision as to how they want to proceed. But please, please do not simply do nothing. If you see somebody who's being bullied by the insurance company, you're seeing somebody who's being cut off by the insurance company when really they need that money and it's unfair, don't sit idly by. We can help. You just have to make that connection. Connect us with those individuals. We will help.
I want to get down to an email now, Sivan. This, again, help@disabilityrights.ca is the email address we use for the show and beyond. This one from Nancy says, my daughter has been on long-term disability for just under a year. She suffers from psychosis and multiple personality disorder. Unfortunately, her psychiatrist moved, and since then, she's had difficulty finding a replacement. Her adjuster is pressuring her to see a doctor that the insurer, recommends, but she's hesitant. She has someone else in mind, but the adjuster is persistent. Can she be cut off LTD if she doesn't go to their doctor? It seems like she could be, from what the adjuster is telling her. It's not good.
Yeah. So Nancy, thank you very much for emailing us for your daughter. Look, I'm very suspicious when insurance companies tell someone that is receiving benefits from them, you have to go to a particular doctor or a clinic for treatments. I'm not talking about assessments. Remember, there's a difference. If the insurance company wants you assessed by one of their doctors, you got to go. That's their prerogative. They're allowed to do it under the policy. But if they tell you and pressure you to go for treatments to one of their doctors or clinics, why are they so insistent? Ask the question, why that doctor? Why that clinic? Well, you know what? I have seen situations where people have gone to insurance-referred doctors and clinics, and later on, say, look, the doctor or the clinic seems to have the insurance company's back and not mine. They tell the insurance company that now, after all these treatments, I'm ready to go back to work when I'm not. So my advice is, if you have another doctor or clinic you can go to, if you can get a referral from your family doctor for someone that can help you, go to these individuals, not whoever the insurance company recommends that you go to. I have yet to see an LTD policy, John, that stipulates that you have to go to a specific doctor for treatments or a specific clinic. I've never seen that. I don't think they exist. And frankly, they should not exist, because I think there's a conflict here. Right? I mean, why is the insurance company so insistent on you going to that doctor? So Nancy, the answer to your question is, if your daughter has someone else in mind, if there is someone else she can get treatments from, have her go to that individual, not to whoever the insurance company is telling her to go to. And I'm not saying that doctors that insurance company wants you to go to, or clinics that they want you to go to, that they're bad. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I'm suspicious of why the insurance company is insisting that you go get treatments from those specific doctors and clinics. It's as though they're getting a benefit from that, right? So be very, very careful. Don't do that. Nancy, if the insurance company, if the adjuster cuts your daughter off because your daughter goes to another person, not to the doctor they referred her to, give me a call immediately. Email me the way you just did here. I will help your daughter. I promise you.
Want to get in Richard's email quickly here before we wrap. Says, my wife was denied long-term disability last year in February. We hired a lawyer a week after, and since then it's been extremely difficult to get in touch with him. Nothing has happened with her file, and every time we try to get some information about the case, it'll be resolved, we're told by his assistant that he's working on it. We're thinking of switching lawyers after hearing your show for the past several weeks, and just wanted to know if you think that's a good idea. We are very frustrated with her lawyer.
I would be frustrated too. Richard, I have very low tolerance for lawyers who are non-responsive. I can tell you that every lawyer at my firm knows that it's an expectation from me and from Lior that if a client emails you or calls you, you call them back in a timely way. I'm not talking about 24 hours. I mean, I'm OCD, right? I mean, if you email me, you'll get a response back within a minute. I'm not saying you should be getting that from your lawyer. But what you're describing here, I mean, this lawyer was retained in February of last year, so over a year has passed and nothing's happened. We resolve most long-term disability claims at our office within months of being retained, not years, sometimes within weeks even. So I can understand the frustration. Now, I'll tell you this. I almost never recommend that people switch lawyers. There's a variety of reasons for that. I don't think that it's a good idea, especially, midway through a process. But I'm not sure this lawyer has done anything on this claim. I'm very concerned about how this claim is being handled. This is, to me, going to a lawyer is like going to a doctor. You need to have faith and trust. There has to be communication with that lawyer. And if there is a lack of communication and the lawyer is not giving you answers, there is a big problem. There's a big problem because maybe the insurance company is experiencing the exact same thing. Maybe they've already offered to settle the case here, John, and the lawyer is not providing this information to this individual. Right. Maybe this lawyer hasn't done anything on this claim and has sat this, he set the claim back by over a year. So it's very important for you to be able to trust your lawyer, and it's very important to go to a law firm that understand that we work for you. We are your lawyer, your wife's lawyer, your son's lawyer, your daughter's lawyer. We are here for you, okay? And if there's a lawyer that you have and you have concerns with, and you raise those concerns with them, and they don't, straighten out, you do need to switch. That's the message.
We're done for the day. Thank you for sticking around with us. You want to reach out by phone, finally, 1-855-821-5900. The website, disabilityrights.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Disability Law Show.